The Spanish Announce Table.
It is episode 418 of the Spanish Announce Table. I am Tim, that's Tom over there. We're starting off with somber news this week, and we'd like to give that its due respect, typically, historically here on the Spanish Announce Table, by not swinging out the gate with any jokes or anything of that nature. Quite simply put, Jay Briscoe passed away very unexpectedly this week. Car accident. And, that's huge news, right, Tom? That's a sitting tag team champion for one of the largest federations, historically even, if not current day. Seemingly unilaterally thought of very well. I know had a checkered past that has had some
with
issues.
Some comments.
With some comments, but seems to have reformed his thinking and made apologies to folks and spoke to folks and stuff like that. And so I even the people that would have been offended then seem to have been on his side now. And notwithstanding, even at that, even if he felt those things, it's still sad. There's people that love that man. And to think also the Briscoe brothers have been a staple in pro wrestling for 20 or more years at this point, and so unique. Nobody like them at all, but yet still so relatable in that you know a bunch of people like them, Tom. You're in the MMA world, you know a whole bunch of folks. You live in the middle America with me here. You know a bunch of these guys, and it's very sad.
There's a great article on his Substack called Hybrid Shoot, Jonathan Snowden, and he described the Briscoes, I think, perfectly. He said, think of two guys from the country heading to a Johnny Cash concert, and midway through, they found out about Tupac and took a left turn. And that's the Briscoe brothers. That is exactly who they are. And yeah, I bet if you're, again, from the middle of the map where we are, those type of guys. And like you said, he's on the poster for the next Ring of Honor pay-per-view. He's the one half of the current Ring of Honor tag team champions with his brother. And I think obviously it's sad when anyone dies in any sudden manner like this, where a car drifted into his lane, hit him, and that's how he passed away. It's also, it hits home a little bit more, I think, for people who know that he had more years to give. We were just talking about last year when we did our top 5 tag teams. I put him in my top 5 tag teams. It was an honorable mention of yours. One of the highlights that we both had from wrestling in 2022 was going to the GCW show in which they main evented a double ring steel cage match.
Yeah.
So that's also the thing that stinks selfishly. Selfishly, you think of, could they have done a 4th match with FTR? Could they have invaded AEW? Could AEW invaded Ring of Honor? And then they have matches with the Young Bucks or Best Friends or, Top Flight, whatever it may be. So selfishly, I think that's where the pro wrestling fan, taking it from that aspect, is really shocked, right? Because this isn't an elderly wrestler, a la Macho Man when he passed away. That sucked, and there was tons of memories. He was later in his life, so we know we didn't expect to see him on the television, for example.
Right.
So knowing that he had so much more to give is the gut punch from a pro wrestling standpoint. And then, as you mentioned, just from a human aspect, regardless of whatever he said or didn't say or felt or did not feel or believed and did not believe, driving and dying in a car accident with your kids, is traumatic and heartbreaking. And so, it's pretty amazing, the outpouring of messages that I'm seeing just across the board, from Kofi Kingston to the Usos to people who knew him like Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens. And then obviously the Young Bucks and people in Ring of Honor like Jay Lethal and all of that. It's very sad. But
we even have folks in the chat here. Justin Floor says, "Evening, gents. I think what really got me was watching Jay help his daughter with her cheer routine. Rest in peace," which is a TikTok that has been floating around, or other videos. And Jeffrey Sills says, "What's up, boys? Shout out to Tim and Tom. Prayers to the Pugh family on the loss of their father, brother, and son. Rest in peace, Jay. He was only 38. He was only hitting his prime in the business. Super sad to see him go." He didn't ask any news on his kids. I think you had seen. I mean,
the only thing that I had seen, and it wasn't from some, reputable source like a New York Times or, Wall Street Journal, anything like that. However, one thing that I did see from someone who's familiar with his family is that his daughter was going through major back surgery because that was what was injured with her. I don't want to speculate on like what could or couldn't happen because I don't know. I'm not a doctor, but I did read that she had or is having back surgery coming up. And then the other daughter is stable. So, I mean, there's one bit of good news in this tragic situation.
And I have no idea of the details of this case either, but I think it's also prudent to remind folks that a car accident is one of the top things that is likely to kill you at any age group in life. Vehicle accidents, probably top 3 in every age group. And pay attention. Keep your hands off your cell phone. Don't drink and drive. There's people that will help you get to where you need to be if you're in those kind of situations. Right. Because I'm teaching kids how to drive right now. You could be doing everything right, and
someone else can.
Could mess your whole world up like that.
Yeah.
And so,
and we don't know again the details of whether either driver or any of that stuff was happening. It's just generally speaking that's our message to anyone who's listening. The Briscoe brothers, though, just kind of switching gears just a little bit. We talked about, the description from Jonathan Snowden, and I didn't probably get it correct. So again, go to his Substack. It's called Hybrid Shoot. He has a great article about meeting him backstage with Ryan Loco, friend of the show. They are doing a photo shoot with him and then with Ryan Loco and then doing a quick interview with Jonathan Snowden. But one of the things that he brought up is obviously we talked about, their matches with Kevin Steen and Colt Cabana and CM Punk and then the Young Bucks and then FTR and things like that. But the thing that always got me, and admittedly, I am not a Ring of Honor historian. I can't tell you the 4th champion, things like that. Nothing, bit by bit like I could with a WWE or AEW. However, the thing that always got me hooked was the authenticity of their promos. I mean, I was sharing promos with you as far back, as recent as their FTR when they're just out there talking about, is it Saturday yet? Thanks, ass boys, for getting that message to us. And then just because now that the curtain has been, let down and exposed, and you're starting to see FTR specifically posting these pictures of taking a drink with them or hanging out backstage. Boy, I would not have guessed that from the promos. Right.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I'll always remember they're cleaning the gun, right? While he's cutting the promo, stuck out. The one you sent me where he just fires a gun off in the background. He's like, "What the hell are you doing?"
He's like, "I thought you were done.
You were done." The genuineness of it. And I always remember with the Briscoes, an interview they weren't even in. It was Claudio Castagnoli, asked Cesaro giving an interview to somebody, and he was talking about the Briscoes, but I think he was on Colt Cabana's podcast maybe. And he was like, no, he was like, I mean, everything that the Briscoes are is what those guys are. Like, they're chicken farmers. They, you know what I mean? He's like, they won't work for WWE because they won't let them stay there on their chicken farm. Like, he was like, they are the most genuine wrestlers in the business today. And that always stuck with me because you get that feel from them. And then to see another well-respected person just acknowledging and pointing that out just solidified it. Like, and that's sad that it was simple gimmick, which maybe wasn't a gimmick, but it was unique, right?
It was unique. It was authentic. It was something that wasn't in the box of I'm a superhero or I'm a bad guy. I mean, they obviously did play the lines of either face or heel throughout their career. But if you were to pinpoint, like, where are they on the spectrum, you kind of moving pendulum. Like, well,
they could be whatever you needed.
They have a lot of the same qualities of what I love in Eddie Kingston, where Eddie Kingston can do babyface and heel, but it's Eddie Kingston. And with the Briscoes, you could do babyface or heel, but they're the Briscoes.
They don't
what I mean?
Change their behaviors. They
just the
change
surroundings
who they're going after, right?
Yeah, their surroundings and situation, but they are authentic. So yeah, and admittedly, I'll tell you just kind of off the top, like I mentioned, I am not a Ring of Honor historian. I did not ever order the pay-per-views. It wasn't available in a television market in Kansas City either. So I don't really know. However, I did purchase the Ring of Honor Fight Club or Honor Club they have. Mm-hmm. Honor Club. And I've been watching a lot of the Briscoes, admittedly, just because of the state of mind I'm in. And I tell you what, man, Christ almighty, those guys are great. Like, and I'm not trying to be like retrospective of because of the sad news. Like I mentioned, they were in my top 5 last year of tag teams.
We just talked about them very frequently.
And now that I'm seeing more of their body of work, I mean, these guys are just outstanding wrestlers. And again, Jay Briscoe, it's going to stink. It's going to
Jeffrey Sills, he says they had bangers from the beginning to the end. Since hearing of his death, I've been watching all the old matches, and Honor Club is probably a great place to do that. And they will be, they've taped after Dynamite a tribute show that will be shown on Honor Club and YouTube, I think, free of charge. Right.
Yep. Yeah. And so let's use that as a transition. Not be, there's no easy way to get out of that topic without being awkward. So here we go. So with our Dynamite recap, it did start off with a memorial graphic for Jay Briscoe, which I thought was very classy. Now, me and you were talking about this off air. There have been reports from Warner Brothers Discovery. As we've talked about, our proclamation is if it's not from a verified source, and we do not consider the Meltzers or Sean Ross Sapp's verified, we're not really going to talk about it. However, we did see it. So that's where, again, Tim had mentioned they did film an episode, a special Jay Briscoe tribute episode after Dynamite. So it's good to see that throughout this entire episode as well, most wrestlers had a Jay or a Briscoe armband as they wrestled matches. So that was great to see. So with that being said, they kicked off the match they kicked off the show with a great match. And this is honestly very, very smart of AEW, because we talked about, before the main event, it's the women, right? They could have done something a different tone, but they went with Jay Lethal and Orange Cassidy, which gets everyone, hey, this is fun. Here's some gimmicks. I think Orange Cassidy rolled out of 3 different elbows from Jay Lethal, and Jay Lethal had to go to the next corner. Danhausen grabs a guitar from Jeff Jarrett. So I thought the tone that they set, popcorn bucket, the best friends, all the stuff. So I thought for, obviously, again, just speculating and projecting, probably the state of mind that most of the locker room was in, to kick off the show with something more lighthearted, like a Jay Lethal versus Orange Cassidy, I thought was perfect. That was, if you couldn't do a tribute show, which again, speculation, but if you couldn't go that route, like they did with Brody Lee, I thought going this route with, hey, let's have a quick laugh before we get into the show, I thought that was perfect. What did you think?
Yeah, I didn't even think of it in that terms, but you're right. That probably is the best way to go in that regard if you're not doing a very specified tribute show, which again, they did later. But and I appreciated this match. I mean, we discussed the Young Buck style and the hold your hand wrestling, and I would say Orange Cassidy falls into that. However, it's also dashed with a comic relief. Like, we're not taking it overtly seriously, right? So when we see some of that, it's part of the circus show. And Jay Lethal knows how to do a lot of that very well. Also, and to play into it, and all of this cast of characters that came along. So does Jeff Jarrett, and so does Sanjay Dutt, and you know what I mean? Like, say what you want, Jeff Jarrett might be one of the biggest like natural heels in the business today right now. The people are just getting booed because we actually don't like that person.
Yeah, we don't like him though.
Right, I know.
But like back in the day, that's X-Pac heat. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like,
that's what it is. It's Jeff Jarrett heat, right?
Yeah. I put the IC title on him.
Yeah.
Just side story.
Jeffrey Sill says, I like that this was a quick match, no commercial break until the second.
Exactly.
match.
That's what I'm saying. And again, we got our Danhausen, we got our best friends, we got our Satnam Singh. I guarantee you, as we were dumbfounded after meeting him, when the audience in whatever rows that were, that when Satnam Singh was walking down the stairs, probably at the end of the night, we're still like, did you see how fucking big he was? Like, You know what I mean? So you got that too. So it was pretty good.
Jeffrey Sills, who is awesome, by the way, was our beer
Oh
sponsor.
my God, I just read it.
And I'm still drinking the stuff. Says, I love Double J. So you're the one. Man, you're the one. You're the one. You're the guy still subscribing to Jeff Jarrett Network, giving him $9.99 a month. Because I think you'd be the one. Are you making a joke?
Yeah, he has to. Yeah, he's a great guy. He's a great guy. Come on, he's a great guy. All right, so Orange Cassidy picks up the victory using the Orange Punch. He retains his AEW All-Atlantic Championship. Then after the match, the heels get in, and then we get some fun stuff, and then there we go. Then we're good, right? Well, fun at the end, and we move on to the next thing. The next thing was. The next thing before the match, which I thought was really smart, was they did a video package of who Kushida is. In the main event, it was going to be Darby Allin versus Kushida. But one thing that they've done well, and as we've talked about in the past, is they told us who Kushida was, right? If you didn't know, or you didn't watch 205 Live or whatever it was when he was NXT, when he was over in WWE, and you're like, why would this guy be in the main event? They put out he was this champion here. He did this here. He's beat these people here. Because they showed him picking up pinfall victories over Hangman, over, I believe it was one of the Young Bucks. So it's like they showed that he had credibility, which is good because if you're only an AEW fan, you don't know who the hell Kushida is. So credit to them for doing that.
So, and maybe I'll dive deeper into this when we discuss that match at the end, but I like when they will do that because we are storyline driven fans. I think we were the outlier in WWE. We still kind of are in AEW. I think a lot of folks do like the circus style, spot fest, if you will, type of match, right? And that's a heavy component of AEW's fan base. And so for me, that's fine, right? If you're going to do a match, especially it's a TNT title match, we're not ready to do a big feud, but if we're pretending this is a real thing, not everything's a big feud. Sometimes there's just bouts and matches. And so that's fine. And so if you're putting together what is a quote unquote dream match, well, if I don't know why it's a dream match, then it's lost on me, right? So, because I get you, that can help when it's just no real storyline here, but it's, man, we've never seen Kushida and Darby Allin. Well then, okay, cool, but you better tell me who Kushida is. Right. Yeah.
And they did this here. Mm-hmm. Yeah, they did this here. And I thought that was really smart because we have criticized them in the past of, well, who the hell is, Jay White, for example, or Will Ospreay? If you don't know, you don't know kind of thing. All right. So then we get back into the ring and we get a tag team match. As you mentioned, big fun flips and shits. You got all of it here. It was Top Flight taking on 2/3 of the trios champs, the Young Bucks, former AEW two-time tag team champs. And we get all the fun. We get up and down, false finish here, false finish there. And son of a bitch, Tim, Top Flight beat the Young Bucks clean. What do you think about that?
Interesting for me. A couple takeaways for the Young Bucks here. Yes, they came out. They're still in douchey stuff, right? And they've got Brandon Cutler back there doing his douchey stuff. And that's great, right? Because, that is what they are. But I think a knock that I would have on them is that every time they come out, it would be something also be like, oh, but we're also making fun of this person, or we grew our facial hair this way. And there wasn't a whole lot of that. This felt like it was coming in for a serious match, if you will, even though they still look douchey, right? But it wasn't like, oh, get it? I'm making fun of this at the same time. It was just, we're coming out here to fight. And then they lost, right? So, which is, if I'm writing things, if I don't got something for the Young Bucks right now, well, then let's use you to get over a team like the Private Party, because who else is Private Party going to get a goddamn win over, right? That's going to matter. So great. I'll applaud them for that. If who knows whose decision it was, of course. But I think it was a good match to do it. Like the very similar style. So you're going to get all the oohs and the ahs and the, and the hold your hand while you walk up to the top of the goalpost and do a triple spinning over your ball sack plancha dive. All that was there. So again, athletically impressive on some folks' parts in the match. And then the ending, I think, was a surprise for me. I didn't expect we're going to see Private Party get this victory here, but honestly, they needed that. Huh?
Top Flight.
Oh, Top Flight.
You're saying, Top Flight.
Oops. But there hadn't been a whole lot of delineation between the two from a storyline aspect. Now, Private Party did have more like your Matt Hardy in that kind of angle for a while, and Top Flight never really had much because of injuries and whatnot. But right?
I'm glad you brought I'm glad you brought that up, because my takeaway from this was year one AEW. If you go back to year one AEW Dynamite, Private Party picked up a victory in a tournament, I believe it was, to crown the first AEW Tag Team Champions over the Young Bucks. And that was supposed to propel them to the next thing. Unfortunately, Private Party kind of didn't maybe take off like everyone thought they would. But now it looks like, hey, we're trying it again. Now this time it's Top Flight.
Roll it back with Top Flight.
The thing that I liked, well, a couple things just aesthetically. One, the Shaq Gnosis that the Young Bucks were wearing were fucking awesome. I like those a lot. That's just a shoe thing. Second, though, is if you are going to have the Young Bucks go to the trios, it still seems like Death Triangle with Lucha Bros are trios, right? FTR has said on every social media platform they're taking a break. Well, then now we do need some teams, because if you go to the Acclaim right now, they're doing Jeff Jarrett and Jay Lethal, and now the Ass Boys, which are all fine, but like build up the Top Flights, build up the juniors division, I guess you could say.
Yeah.
And so that's where I like that. What are you going to say?
Well, I would say redeeming himself in the chat here is Jeffrey Sills saying Private Party, Top Flight, same thing. We don't fact check, Tom.
We know, but I knew
check.
it. It's not I didn't check. I just knew. Yeah. But what I was going to say is, I like the idea that you're going to get established teams such as the Young Bucks getting more credibility to the teams that need it, such as a Top Flight. So I like that Top Flight got the victory here over the Young Bucks. If you recall, they got a really good match out of Claudio and John Moxley. What's up? Why are you cutting me off every time? What's up?
No, I just
keep going. Keep going.
No, because this is about Top Flight. This is about Top Flight.
Okay.
Justin Floor wants to know if Darius can stay healthy, Top Flight will be one of the top tag teams in AEW. I don't know that I agree with that for various reasons, but what do you think?
Well, but that's what I'm saying. If they beat the Young Bucks, and then if they beat Lucha Bros, and then if they beat I'm making this up, a returning Jurassic Express, or they beat Jungle Boy and Hook, like that's where I think.
So do you frame it that way? Because that's the only way I see that happening is like, oh my God, they're on a win streak, because they've said nothing else to make me care who they are and what they're doing. You follow me?
Yeah, but they have the moves, even though we will criticize kind of like the style of how we got there.
Don't matter, right?
But they got the moves that will go viral, right? So the move of the night from them was it was some type of like backflip off the ropes, cutter into
spinning over your
whatever.
Ball sack plancha dive.
Yeah. So yeah, I just find it very interesting that we are, 2 years ago, we talked about, oh my God, AEW is the place where tag teams go. We got Santana and Ortiz. We got Best Friends. We've got Les Sex Gods and all these people. And now it's like,
where are they? Yeah. Well, and I think key to what Justin Floor said here is if Darius can stay healthy, that is a big question mark.
Or Dante. I mean,
Yeah. Could happen to him too.
Pretty young. Yeah, could happen to them too. Because of the style. Now I understand Darius had outside factors which went into it, like a car wreck, I believe. But yeah, still, yeah. Health is the hardest thing to do and predict in pro wrestling, because they ain't doing ballet, as they say.
Right.
All right. So then we go to break and come back. We come back from break. And who comes out? It was supposed to be the Acclaimed, but it's not. It's the Ass Boys. And let's just stop here real quick. The Ass Boys, the Gun Club, whatever we're calling them. What do you feel? Give me your 2 cents on who they are, what they are, how you feel about them.
Right now, I'm liking them more than I ever have, because they are just there being the turd in the punch bowl, right? Mm-hmm. We're all like, I love how first of all, you said it on Twitter, the announcers have so much fun on AEW Dynamite.
Oh my God. Yeah.
And this planned thing where they were like, all right, it's time for the Acclaim. Oh, right when the Ass Boys came out is a great soundbite. And just who would have guessed that Billy Gunn, right, unilaterally understood to have one of the best like looking faces and physiques in wrestling in his day, would birth two of the most punchable faces in the industry, right? So
he had a punchable face though too. I mean, go back to the Smoking Guns.
Well, yeah, there's that too. But they have if you try to define what a punchable face is, you might show these faces, right? And so it just, I like that. I don't know. They even talk with an annoying voice. So I'm digging when they're out there because, man, right? It's such a great foil for the Acclaimed, right? I don't know what happens after that, right? That's my worry with the Ass Boys. I kind of like that Billy Gunn leaned into the thing where he's like, we need family therapy. Like, this is terrible. Yeah.
So let's get into it.
What do you think of the Ass Boys? What's your...
I hate them. But I hate them in a good way.
Yeah.
I was thinking about this after the segment. Yeah, after this segment, if you want to get the loudest cheers for Kenny Omega and the Young Bucks, the Elite, you put them in a trios match with Jeff Jarrett and the Ass Boys, and I swear to God, everyone will be in their corner. I don't care what the fuck they dress up as or try to mock or mimic or hold hands. Fuck those three guys. Yeah. Now, Jeff Jarrett has like legit carny bullshit to him, which you can go outside of the ring. But keeping it within the context of a TV show, I still fucking hate Jeff Jarrett. He's annoying as shit.
Yeah.
The Ass Boys, same thing. You got the one that can cut the promo, losing his hair, still doing the comb over at 25 years old. Just go bald, buddy. Yeah, okay. And he's got a Johnny Cash tattoo, I think it is. And then you got the other one who's about 150 pounds soaking wet that gets confused when a microphone's in his face. And so I just fucking hate him. But they're fun.
Two things. One, the Ass Boys I'm not comparing them as far as quality to 2.0, but it's that level of like, you can put them with anybody as their lackeys and suddenly like, ugh, like, you know what I mean? Like, fuck these guys. And two, in regards to their terrible look, they also, one of them at least, has this trend that I'm noticing that we got to stop. This fucking line down tattoo from like behind the ear straight down the neck. What the fuck is everybody doing here?
Oh, it's the new tramp stamp. It is the new
tramp stamp. It's like it's like, look how tall I've gotten. Like, what in the fuck are we doing?
Yeah, it's put in your favorite word from the dictionary. Mine says relentless. Mine says hope. Yeah, I know.
I'm gonna get a Spanish announce table all the way down.
There you go. Yeah. Hey. All right. So the Ass Boys come out. They're running down everyone. One thing that I did think was interesting in their promo before the Acclaim came out is no mention of FTR. So they did the funeral for F Trip, and then
now they're dead.
So we'll see how that goes.
Speak ill of the dead.
Put a pin in that because I think that might come back to bite them in the ass. But as you mentioned, Acclaim come out. Ass Boys say no. They then say, turn that mic off. I'm doing it anyhow. He does it. And then
a weak rap this time too. Not much.
Yeah, not much to it.
Yeah.
But I don't think the energy was there. I think
correct.
Because for the segment, which I thought the segment was kind of filler, where Billy Gunn just says it's time for therapy and
family therapy or something. Yeah.
I don't know. How do you feel about that? I don't feel great about it, to be honest.
No, I don't feel great because that means I think like maybe Billy Gunn is switching back and that would be a mistake. Albeit the Acclaim can't have Billy Gunn running with them forever, right? Don't they have to?
Well, who's going to scissor me daddy ass? I mean, he's daddy ass.
Eventually, we've talked about this. Phrases and catchphrases. The Rock was good at because he would kind of make some changes over the time, right?
Yeah, that's Austin
true. Could make a new one. Like, you know what I mean? Like, we all love the Wolfpack chants, but after 2 years of Conan saying Viva La Raza, we were like, all right, this is done.
Yeah, that's true. In the chat, I see here, Jeffrey Still says, didn't the Iceman Chuck Liddell start the tattoo trend? No, because if you want to go to head tattoos, you go back to Bam Bam Bigelow. That's who started this shit.
Right.
Well, that's
Chuck Liddell have one of those?
No, he's got something on his head.
Oh, okay.
He's got some fun symbols on his head.
The one I'm specifically talking is that, you know what I mean?
It's a straight line,
behind
the ear.
Like right down the neck.
Yeah.
Fucking weird.
Every Gap model.
I was noticing on the basketball game we were watching, which, by the way, K-State BK. I don't know if anybody saw that. You saw it. Yeah. You fucking saw it. Right, a bunch of the players had that too. I was like, God damn, everybody's fucking rocking around with this. Looked like somebody fucking wrote down your fucking neck with, like, when people would draw on your face with a marker, like,
oh yeah,
yours, not mine. But anyway, back to the show, back to Dynamite.
So yeah, they say family therapy, and that's what we get. Again, kind of clunky at the end because they just
didn't
left.
hit as good. Like people chuckled at it, but it wasn't, because he
felt
said,
like
I got
that
2 words
been,
for you. And family therapy, and it was like, oh yeah, all right.
I just felt like it could have been a better backstage segment than it was in ring segment.
True.
But for the first time in Fresno, I think the decision was we got to get Max Caster to rap in front of the audience.
Of course.
That's fine. Then I thought, honestly, came the best segment of the night. And I'm not including wrestling. I'm just saying the best segment that like I rewatched a couple times because it was very interesting. Renee Paquette is backstage and she's interviewing Hangman Adam Page. And right from the get-go, Renee Paquette, her nonverbal communication, her body language was, I don't want to do this. This guy hurt my husband, but I'm a professional, so I will. Let's just see where this goes. And then to his credit, Hangman also kind of felt a little remorseful, it looked like, where he was like, how's he doing? Like, how's he going? So a lot of stuff was said here. I'll just hit kind of on some bullet points and then get your feedback. So she talked about how Jon Moxley actually kind of admires Hangman for what he brings out in
hates
Moxley.
You, but appreciates you.
Right. And then I felt like it was interesting. Yeah. And then I thought it was interesting how Hangman was like, well, if he wants to get knocked out again, I'll do it again. It's like, so that was interesting.
Just gave
kind
you
of
a compliment from him.
Right. Yeah.
Not even necessarily from him though. It's almost like he didn't tell me to tell you this.
Right.
But he said this. Like she's almost trying to do damage control, and he's like, "Oh, he said that, really? Well, you tell him this. Fuck you." It's kind of what he like. Continue. There was
and then Hangman says, because then the question is, what happens next? And Hangman says, "Well, I got to mend some fences." Now, I think everyone went to the Elite. However, I think claws up. I think it's Dark Order.
I would hope it's Dark Order.
Because the mending of fences, in my view, if you go back to All Out, which was the last sustainable storyline that he was in, outside of the Jon Moxley thing, which was kind of a spot in the moment kind of thing. But the last thing that we saw was Hangman hit the buckshot on John Silver, costing them the match. And then, Dark Order and them are cool, but like, not really. You know what I mean? And so I think that's the mending of fences. I could be wrong. It could be a layup and it's the Elite. And what do they call them when it's the Young Bucks and Hangman? The three of them, like Hung Buck or something like that. Hung Bucks. Is that? Someone tell me that.
Probably Hung Bucks. I mean, that's what I would call them. Now, yes, and just to, like you're saying, we got Kenny Omega here. We've got the trios. Like, it doesn't seem like they need to be tied up in a storyline with the Hangman right now. However, who's not doing something is the Dark Order, right?
Yeah.
Pause up. And that was interesting to me. I went to Dark Order, but I was like, could it be the Elite? But I was like, man, it should be the Dark Order.
It should be the Dark Order.
So this is what I love about AEW. When we talk about storylines, this is the subtleties of storylines that we're talking about here, right? You know, like there is tension in the room between interviewer and interviewee, but it's about another person. And is there the start of a bromance between those two? And like, you know what I mean? But also not. And like, and Hangman's clearly like having a hatred where we're like, we love you, Hangman. We support you. But you might not necessarily need to hate the guy, you know what I mean, who just did what he was supposed to do against you, right? It's a little bit of an irrational hatred towards Jon Moxley, and maybe even Hangman gets a little bit of like showing a soft side in that too, because he's like, well, tell him, nah, never mind. You know what I mean? Like, it's not worth it, right? Or whatever he says.
And if you catch, as you were talking about subtly, if you catch what happened there, Renee Paquette asked the question of what's next. He mentions mending fences, but then Renee Paquette says like, okay, thank you very much. And I believe so really, how's he doing? Was the interview's cut, right?
Right.
And Hangman doesn't realize he's being recorded.
Right. Yeah, because she was like, you good? Like, you're cool with that?
We're cool with that. Yeah. Again, still like, you knocked out my husband, right? And then that's when we see the remorseful Hangman Adam Page be like, so like, really, how is he? And she gives him the for 10 years, he's been beat up one way or another. So, he'll get back on his feet. And then we see we'll tell him, never mind.
Yeah, never
so
mind.
I got to ask, what do you think the tell him is?
So now what he told her to tell him earlier was, I'll fucking do it again. But now is that what he was going to tell her? Because there would be no need for him to say, well, tell him, if that's what he already said to her, right? So it would have had to been something different, which probably would have been along the lines of whatever. Now back to this idea of Hangman mending fences. I want it to be the Dark Order because I want us to go down. And again, this is what we say. We will offer suggestions of what we think they should book. I'm not going to get pissed off if they don't do this. And it's a little bit complicated. I don't know if they will. But Hangman mending fences with Dark Order and kind of leading the Dark Order as like their de facto leader. But we just saw him have an irrational hatred to where he knocked out Jon Moxley, which is somewhat atypical of his character. If he starts leading Dark Order to do a few things that are violent, but atypical out of their character to where, hey man, are we good people? You know what I mean? Like, I would love this story because that's kind of encompassed Hangman's sort of anxiety about himself since we've seen him, right? It's the character work that I love about AEW here, right? Now, none of what I just said could happen, but we've at least got this up to this point with Jon Moxley, and that sort of like, what did he want to tell her? This storyline is unequivocally not closed, right? We have a cliffhanger pause on this, and it's great.
And so many different angles to go with. Because as you mentioned, it could be I'm pushing this down. The compassionate Hangman is being pushed down to the middle of my stomach. And what I need to do is knock out more people, right? And then that's where you go into the irrational Hangman. And we might get the heel version of whatever Hangman Adam Page is, right? So we shall see.
Jeffrey Sill says the Dark Order have been trying to recruit people on Dark and Elevation. I have not caught up to speed on Dark and Elevation in a while.
I didn't see that. Yeah, no, I haven't seen.
I'll have to check that out. See, like, under what pretense are they trying to? That's interesting.
Like, I hope it's legit, not like, hey man, we got Cheetos in the back. Like,
hey, you've got a funny face.
Yeah. So we'll see.
Yeah.
All right. So then after that backstage interview, we get back in the ring, and it is Jake Hager taking on absolute Ricky Starks. This match happened. What'd you think?
Yeah, Jake Hager, I think we all understand, is a man that could beat up a lot of people in real life, right? Like, I mean, he when you see him, he looks good getting off the bus, right?
Yes.
Like, you know what I mean? Like, a lot of people, like Jake Hager could beat me up, right? You know what I mean? Like, you don't think so, huh? All right. No. Fucking Tom's got a lot of confidence in me that I do not. So now, at any rate, like, the casual viewer sees Jake Hager's like, okay, sure, but like, we don't see Jake Hager winning anything, do we? So now I get, like, he's not going to win against Ricky Starks. I don't think anybody expected him to, and it's a big guy for Ricky Starks to get a win over. But this Jake Hager experiment is just really, again. We get he likes the hat now. This is what I've talked about. They will bleed it to death to where it's not. The catchphrase thing I spoke about earlier, Jericho and his folks are always the worst of this. They will drive it into the ground. How long were we calling him the Ocho? You know what I mean? Like, how long have we seen this hat? So, like, that's just kind of what I felt. It's like, all right, let's get this over with. Ricky Starks will do his pose. I like how they ended that, where they're all in, like, fuck this guy. He gets the quick roll up, and now he's out in the crowd. That's always a good camera spot, right? The heels are like, you motherfucker, and he's out there dancing on them bitches in the crowd, right? Like, that's always a good visual. So that was good for me in the ending, right?
Yeah, I like that. So the things that I liked was Ricky Starks in action. We didn't get him lost in the shuffle. We got Taz to sing another song. I think that's the key to getting over is Taz to sing your song in some form or fashion. And then the last kind of image of him standing on top of JAS as they're mad because he got one over on him. Jake Hager, though, is just a dead end in every aspect. He's good for the multi-man, right? When it was Anarchy in the Arena or Blood and Guts or
when he's the ogre,
Stadium Stampede.
You know what I mean? Like when he's the Bebop or Rocksteady, right? When he's the big guy of the Foot Clan, if you will.
But when it's just him, it just feels like a dead end. It feels
it's clunky, it's slow.
Well, it's just we know he's gonna lose. We know, or he's going to cheat to win. Like we know there's two outcomes. They're either going to cheat to win to get him to win, or he's going to lose and look stupid. And I just don't care about either outcome. And
the only saving grace is we get to see him with 2.0. That's the only.
Yeah, I mean,
but they're not enough to get him over.
Just personally, me. For as we see Jake Hager, I would guarantee you, if you counted the number of appearances, Jake Hager is in the top 10. And he is not that fucking good to be on TV that much. When you have Wardlow that just got his hair cut, and maybe we're going to do something later, but when Wardlow's off TV, and when the Book of Hobbs and Powerhouse Hobbs is off of TV, and Miro, and then we're pushing Eddie Kingston to Friday night, it's like, for Jake fucking Hager, get the fuck out of here. Like, that's the frustration. Is it's like he's where charisma and storyline go to die. And
that's what I mean.
Get him out of here.
For anything, any redeemable point that I try to give him here of like, okay, well, it helps Ricky Starks get a win over a big guy or whatever. That role can be filled by so many others, like you mentioned. You know, like now maybe it's they're like, yeah, it can be filled by others, but we don't want to hurt those others. Fuck Jake Hager. And then I guess maybe. But I just don't think it's coming off the way they think it might be coming off. I don't think anybody's like, oh my God, he beat Jake Hager.
Yeah. One of the things that I've liked that AEW does that I think more heels need to adopt is what we'll see here in a little bit, where heels are paying other heels to help them out. So you go back, Andrade and MJF have had dealings where I believe it was Private Party or Butcher and the Blade were loaned to MJF. And then we've had Andrade do deals with Matt Hardy to where then they become a collaboration and they're paying for each other to like help each other out, beating up baby faces. This could have been where Chris Jericho hires Miro and if he loses, he hates God.
Yeah.
Like who cares? Yeah. You know what I mean? Like it's just, or Powerhouse Hobbs, right? And then this is where Powerhouse Hobbs goes like, and these motherfuckers are really gonna get it, right? And the reason I lost,
so great, yeah. Powerhouse Hobbs goes there. He get like Jake Hager convinces him, look, it's in your book of Hobbs. You got to do this, whatever. And then Hobbs finds a way to lose, right? And then he can go back to like, the book of Hobbs says I will go through low times, right? Like it says I will go through adversity, but out of that adversity comes, right? And he can kind of continue the gimmick he's doing, which right now is doing nothing.
Right.
So why not give it a purpose by losing a couple matches?
Yep. And so, yeah, it's just someone. I just don't like. Stop him. Stop Jake Hager. Just stop him.
No more Hager.
Him. Just no more.
The episode title. No more Hager.
That might be it. So after that, we come back from commercial. Chris Jericho is being interviewed again. Don't need it, but he says next week it's going to be him and Sammy Guevara, the Sex Gods, taking on Action Andretti and Ricky Starks. But then Sammy Guevara is like, well, but hey, Daniel Garcia's doing great. And Daniel Garcia's taking on Action Andretti on Friday night. So, hey, you know what? If you beat Action, you can take my spot. Yeah. And here's some leather pants. And I thought the leather pants were stupid.
Daniel Garcia plays this great. The like Jesus Christ, like the annoyed, but like still like focused on like the leader's here, like fuck this guy, you know what I mean? I'm trying to impress Jericho, that kind of thing. Yeah, but see, that's just it too. Like, it's not only that like we see Jericho every week, he's in two storylines now. This whole Garcia is going to figure out that the JAS sucks and he's a wrestler, not a sports entertainer, has been going, and then he's also doing this Ricky Starks thing, right? Like it's just
Action
Andretti. Like, man, again, like you said, we have Powerhouse Hobbs, we got Brian Cage hanging around, which I guess will involve him later. But like we've got these things. Jeffrey Sills a couple times has said Bandito and more on Bandito, which is Spanish for bandit. More on that. Yeah. So
here he comes. Here it is. So after that interview where, again, Sammy Guevara ends it with hugging Daniel Garcia. Daniel Garcia's like, pause. This is stupid. Yeah. I hate this.
Yeah.
Thought it was fun.
That's I like that aspect of any of the storylines of the Jericho world right now is that Garcia, Sammy Guevara thing.
Yeah, and that should be something, right? But then we get back into the ring, and it is the American Dragon, Bryan Danielson, taking on Bandito, Spanish for bandit.
Yes.
And this match ruled. Can I tell you what I thought after this match? We don't need to go through all the highlights, but it is back and forth. The crowd in Fresno starts chanting Bandito, which is pretty remarkable because he's in there with Bryan Danielson. There's suplexes, there's delayed suplexes, there's running, all the stuff. Bryan Danielson gets the victory, right? This is what I left with. Bryan Danielson now, Ethan Page, Takesha. Is that how you say his name? The Japanese guy from last.
I think Takesha. It's Takesha.
Takesha.
I think with a T before the A. Takesha.
Takesha.
Yeah, nailed it.
T-Man.
Ketchup.
Takesha. Well, him, and now we got Bandito. Honestly, I almost want like a losers bracket of those three taking on each other to see who's like the pecking order there. Put in T-Money in there versus Bandito. Put in Ethan Page versus Bandito. Put in Bandito versus, maybe do a triple threat. Like those three guys impressed me so much against Bryan Danielson that I want to see what they can do without Bryan.
You know what they've got away from that they did early on that maybe they had reason, maybe they had data to show them that it wasn't hitting, but they used to focus more on the rankings and that how some of these matches would affect that. And then they would have
they got away from it.
Tournaments and stuff like that. Like that's where you could get these in, right? Like you could have a tournament for the TNT #1 contender, and you've got Bandito versus Ethan Page. You've got Takeshita versus what was the other one you said there, right? Like you could just fit these in, right? Where I think they've kind of gotten away from that as a focal point, and we applauded them for that, or as for kind of like I said, when you don't have a story, that's an easy way to at least say, here's a reason we're having this match, and it gives
many tournaments. Yeah, many tournaments of this is what's going to the winner of this 6-man tournament is going to be the #1 contender in 3 weeks.
You could do a mini round robin, like the 3 of you are all going to face each other, and then or the 4 of you, and then the top 2 are going to face. You could do all kinds of things where you just kind of work that in for a reason when there's not a reason.
And one thing that we keep on harping on, and I feel like again they need to utilize a little bit better. Put those things on Elevation. Put those things on Dark. Jeffrey Stills is talking about how Dark Order is recruiting. You know why I don't watch either show religiously is if I don't see that something's trending on Twitter, it's just squash matches of Jake Hager beats Dan the Dad in 2 minutes. And it's like, well, fuck that. I don't care. Like that's not worth my time. Right. You could do the round robins where the winner of the tournament gets a match on Dynamite, but the tournament takes place on Elevation, or the tournament takes place on Dark. Like utilize that more instead of it just being local enhancement talent gets squashed.
Jeffrey Sill says, I want to see Bandito with the All Atlantic belt. Yeah, that's another belt where I mentioned the TNT champion, but like the All Atlantic is perfect for these sorts of the workhorse wrestlers, right? That like we mentioned that could put on 20-minute barn burners every week. Let's get it.
Perfect. Yeah. So post-match, MJF appears to cut a promo, and he says he hears everything Danielson is saying. He hears everything that's happening. And essentially, long story short, he says, the more you piss me off, the less my mask will be able to, show me as the good guy. You will see the monster behind this.
It was a very interesting promo, and I think it was delivered well enough too that Danielson sold it correctly, where like he didn't like act scared, but he also didn't like what a jack off blow it off either. He was kind of like, all right, like what I mean, like he was just kind of like, all right, I hear you, right, like that kind of thing, right? It wasn't like it was just kind of like, all right, well, we'll see what's up, right, like that kind of a thing. And I liked it where he was just kind of like, you felt a realism from MJF saying like, keep fucking thinking that I, like cheated my way to the top here, that like I'm not able to fucking throw down with you. Like keep thinking that and see what happens, because I think like what he's saying is like, I can do what you do, plus I have that edge, right? Like plus I have that like I will slit your throat mentality
Well, and we have the credibility to back it up. It's not just words. Go back to his history in AEW. He sat on the chest of CM Punk while he's bleeding from his head. He low blowed Cody Rhodes and pushed him to the side as Cody was reaching for some type of understanding of why he did it. He knocked out fucking William Regal with brass knucks and we never saw him again. Like, he will fucking get evil. So, and Danielson knows that more than anything because look at where William Regal is. Again, storyline, stay in the storyline. Not like, oh, he's in WF. Fuck that shit. I'm saying in storyline, he's fucking gone, right? Like,
not gonna do another universe.
Yeah. Right. Okay, so then we're back from commercial, and we're informed that Bryan Danielson's opponent next week is the Machine, Brian Cage. And so then we do an interview with Prince Nana and Brian Cage. And before really anything could be said, MJF rolls up and it's like, hey, I don't give a shit if you win. I don't give a shit if you lose. I just want you to break his fucking arm. Here's a lot of money. And Brian Cage is like, cool, I can totally do it. Being Brian Cage. And then a fucking smack in the mouth that looked legit really hard. And Brian Cage wants to kill him. Yeah. And MJF is like, you feel instantly,
this? Like, yeah. Well, and I like that Prince Nana's like, the money, sir. The money. Because he's like, because MJF's waiting for that choke. And he's like, you want this money or not? And he's like, you want the money or you want to kill me? Right? And he's like, the money, right? Don't be a loser here. Yeah. I like that. And then, yes, like you said, MJF comes in with the like, so you know that feeling? The feeling you got right now? Like, that's what we need, right? Basically saying like, go fucking get it done. The one miss for me on this is like, he then handed the money to Nana. I don't think Brian Cage is going to make good and break Bryan Danielson's arm. So now how does MJF recollect the money that he said you only get?
Right. That was the miss.
Right.
Unless he just goes straight to Prince Nana. Is like, hey, you have the money. I'm MJF. You're going to give it to me. Something like that. But yeah, I thought the exchange of money before he did the job.
Unless he's planting a seed to later use Brian Cage as his new Wardlow. Like, no, you keep the money, but you're going to earn it another way.
Possibly, yeah. Or it's half now, half later, because he said it's more money than you've ever seen.
Maybe
so maybe that's the upfront.
Half later, right? Yeah, maybe that's the upfront.
Yeah, maybe. Who knows? Yeah. But yeah, I do agree. Like,
because I remember Prince Nana took one look at it and he was like, yep, you know what I mean? Like, puts it right as things like, we're good with this. Yeah, I like that a lot. Mm-hmm.
All right, and so Tim, we're right before the main event, so you know what time it is.
Each week.
It's time
for the women.
Yay!
Yes.
And it is my...
This was done very well. I want to preface
So let's talk about all this. So I thought the best segment was...
I'll agree.
Renee Paquette, Hangman Adam Page.
Oh, okay. I see what you're saying.
The most interesting thing, though, is what we're doing with the women.
Yeah, I think this is the most interesting, like, I don't want to say the most interesting storyline of the night, but the most interesting storyline development.
Yes, I agree. Mm-hmm. I agree. So before the match, we get a backstage interview with Saraya, Toni Storm, and fucking Hikaru Shida again, which, Kata, longtime listener Kata, I absolutely adore Kata. I think his opinions, more often than not, are spot on. He's a very rational wrestling fan who's mostly measured in what he says. He doesn't get high and low like I do. Mm-hmm. And he talked about how last week, how I said it was clunky what Hikaru Shida did with throwing the kendo stick between Jamie Hayter and Toni Storm. He's like, well, see, now this is where Hikaru Shida, I guess, if I understand correctly, he might be she might be turning heel, right? Okay, cool. But then we go to this segment and Saraya's like, essentially, again, we're paraphrasing here, but like, you dumb idiot, don't come out next time. Don't do that. You're an idiot. And then her and Toni Storm are like, these AEW women, right? Like, they're fucking dumb.
Yeah. And they kept mentioning, they're like, they haven't been where we've been. They don't know this thing. And Justin Flores, says, I'm ready for an XWWE versus AEW Originals Blood and Guts match. And I think they can pull this off in the women's division. Remember they had this women's war games with no blood. If we get a women's Blood and Guts match, but I like that backstage segment. I also like that they had the evil villain music playing over it. Did you catch that? Right? Like, and it was like reddish lighting or whatever. And like Toni Storm was emitting more personality than we've seen since she walked in the door at AEW here. Right? Like she was really bought into this.
And Saraya felt like she fit more than she ever has with the, like, it's my house. I went through all this stuff.
This would be the thing. If we got an ex-WWE versus AEW Originals Blood and Guts match, this is where you bring in the Mercedes Moné.
No,
she's the surprise. I don't want it, but if you're going to bring her in, that's where you do it. That's where you do it. Yeah, please don't do it. But if you're going to do it because it's out of our hands, Tony Khan, I know you're watching.
Yeah.
Do it.
If the contract's signed, for 2 dates, then make it in this storyline. Right. I'm just saying don't sign a contract with.
I wouldn't hate a one-off. If she came in for a one-off, whatever. You know what I mean? Like, did you see she said she was going to put in JPW on the map or some shit like that? Like, that shit.
You know why I hate it? You know why I would hate it for the one time? Is because as this company grows, like anything that has history, top 10 lists are going to be created. And every fucking dork with a neck beard is going to be like, number 3, greatest AEW matches, the debut of Mercedes Moné.
She's also the type to do exactly what CM Punk did, right? Where it was like if she showed up for that match and that thing did a good draw, it would be like, oh, the first time they had a draw of over blah, blah, blah was because of me. Remember, like, she's, again, taking credit for, like, some resurgence of New Japan because she showed up there at one fucking time. Like, that's the kind of mentality that she has, right? At their biggest show, yeah. Like, and that's kind of, so miss me with it if you're not going to do it. But like you said, if the contract's already signed and she's coming, put it in that because that would be the logical spot to show up and be like, oh, my God, right? Who's our fourth man, right, or whatever, right? Like our
so it'll be a 5-on-5, right? A 5-on-5. Right. So let's talk about the match and then start brainstorming some things here. So the match is Toni Storm versus Willow Nightingale, and God bless America. I don't care what happens to me in life. I just need Willow Nightingale's music to play and her to come out all bubbly and smiley, and whatever just happened, I'm automatically forgetting about and just in a good mood. If for whatever reason, it won't fucking happen, but if for whatever reason the Jacksonville Jags were to beat the Kansas City Chiefs this Saturday, I'm playing Willow Nightingale's music and I'm watching her entrance because that will wash away the sorrows of that horrible loss. Again, it won't happen. I'm just saying hypothetically, that's what she does.
We're considering boycotting Dynamite next week if the Jags find a way to beat the Chiefs.
Hey, Tony Khan, I already said it on my Instagram. We retweeted it. I said, if the Chiefs beat the Jags, we want backstage passes to the Independence show in Kansas City. Come on, Toni.
Come on, Toni. I know you're watching. I know you're watching.
So we get a lot of great stuff here. Toni Storm, Willow Nightingale, they're going back and forth. Toni Storm is doing some kind of mean heelish type things. Gets to the point where Saraya even gets up to the apron to distract the ref. Toni Storm then does the whole roll up with the tights, I guess. And then post match, Saraya and Toni Storm are just kicking her. Now, the part I missed out, because again, I felt like it was completely irrelevant because she looked so dumb. Again, I love Hikaru Shida. I think she is awesome. Look at all of her matches. Her matches with Britt Baker. Her matches with the champion Jamie Hayter. The matches with Nyla Rose during the pandemic. Like, she can wrestle almost better than any woman in the world. But she looked fucking dumb here. So she came out by herself with a kendo stick. Let me clarify that point here. With the kendo stick. And then when she saw Toni Storm and Saraya kicking God's gift to wrestling, Willow Nightingale, she did fucking nothing, Tim. She did zero.
Yeah.
Ruby Soho came out to make the save. How fucking dumb are you for someone else to come out when you have a weapon in your hand to fight off two people who aren't even paying attention to you. Like, bro, come on. So that's how the match ends. Now, here's where the fun comes. We had talked about WWE, ex-WWE versus homegrown AEW.
Yeah.
Well, the woman who made the save for Willow Nightingale is pretty stale, if I'm being honest. And Ruby Soho is ex-WWE. So all I'm saying is keep an eye on Ruby Soho, because I think she's turning heel on Willow.
So I was just going through the AEW women's roster. I know we're not supposed to fact check, but I need to know who's available. So so if we're not including Mercedes Moné, because she's not around, right?
No.
The only names I'm coming with, Storm and Saraya are already the two. Ruby Soho was the third. Who else? Athena is a fourth?
Yeah.
Serena Deeb?
Yes.
Because that's it. I mean, I don't know who else then. Because on the other side, for AEW, you've got Thunder Rosa, Willow Nightingale, Jamie Hayter, Britt Baker, Sheeta, Jade Cargill. You've got Chris Statlander, Nyla Rose, Penelope Ford, Red Velvet, Rio. You could mention as AEW originals. So that side is stacked. It's the ex-WWE side that's it's tight.
Do a little bit more filibustering because I got my five. Okay. I'm almost done.
All right. So now, if we're talking Jade Cargill, I don't know that I'd put her in that match, right? Because I don't, you know what I mean? Unless you're gonna have her save the day and she's the new star, but I don't think that's where that's going, right? It's this, but I definitely think you put Britt Baker in that match, don't you?
Yes.
Yeah. So if Britt Baker accompanies Jamie Hayter, she's the champ, right? She's got to be involved in that. I think maybe you put a Thunder Rosa.
Yeah. Thunder Rosa came in as ex-ROH or ex-NWA.
Right. Wasn't necessarily an AEW original, but did later get signed finally. Yeah, I don't know. That would be a fun match to be had.
Jeffrey still says they're bringing in hardcore country.
All right.
I peaked in 2005.
Mark. We found a TNA mark here with Jeffrey Sills. He likes the Jeff Jarrett and the Mickey James.
Well, he says, and I quote, they're bringing in ... I peaked in 2005 hardcore country Mickey James.
Is that what he said? Quote? Yeah, that's right. Yeah, that's right. It's hard to read right now. It's a little fuzzy, but yeah.
WrestleMania 22 called and said Mickey James isn't needed. Okay.
Yeah, was she coming out in Indian gear on this latest Impact
She is Native American.
She is.
She is Native American.
Mickey James.
So she is Native American. Yes. So
I did not know that.
I learned it recently, so that's why. Because I was
take back anything I thought.
Yeah, because initially I thought this was a Mercedes Moné where we're
cultural appropriation,
appropriation.
But I didn't realize she had some. Yeah, okay, all right.
All right, so this is what you do. Here's your five. Because you said something and I dismissed it, but now I agree with you, and I think you go this route. So the five on ex-WWE side: Saraya, Toni Storm, Athena, Serena Deeb, Ruby Soho.
Okay.
That's your five. Then on your five for the homegrown, you're doing Nyla Rose.
Yeah.
You're doing Willow Nightingale.
Okay.
You're doing Hikaru Shida. Yeah, you're doing Hikaru Shida. You're doing Britt Baker. And then you're doing the person who fucking wins the match and flexes on all these bitches, the star of all women's wrestling, Jade Cargill. You have her going, what, motherfuckers? Do you see these muscles on me? I'm the fucking woman among fucking girls around here. And that's where then, because this is how you book out of it. You have her fucking literally stack all of them, stack all 9 girls on top of each other, and she fucking pins them all.
She can even say, listen, I'm on your guys' side technically, but get in my way, I'm putting hands on you and I'm pinning you also. I don't give a shit.
Exactly. Yeah. And so I would have her, again, hypothetically, stack all of the fucking bitches, flex on them, and then out of that
do the
match,
Roman Reigns stack with 9 girls and just fucking one hand while flexing the other.
Yep.
Yeah.
And then out of that, then you go, I'm going for the championship. This is fucking dumb. I'm wasting my time with these fucking baddies. I'm going right after.
Which is great why Hayter was not in the match. So you can say, look, I took out all the rest of the competition. I took out 9 of the, if there's a top 10 list, I just took out the 9. It's you and me, bitch.
Exactly. That's what you do. And then you say title for title, but then you find a way that Jamie Hayter cost Jade Cargill her first loss. Oh, what would you do?
Or you could even do remember when Warrior won both and then just gave up the other one? You could do that.
Yeah. Keith Lee did that in NXT actually
true.
too, with the North American.
Yep,
yeah.
True that.
So there you go. So that's what I do. 5-on-5. Jade Cargill, though, pump kicks every fucking woman in sight.
Yeah. Just easily bitch smacks them around.
All of them.
Yeah.
You are all fucked. Yes, that's what I would do. Okay. All right. Then we go backstage after that match, and Stokely Hathaway and Ethan Page cut a promo on Jungle Boy, and then we go to break. That's fine. Come back from commercial, and then say it for me again. T-Money's name is what? Takesha?
Oh, Takeshita.
Takesha. I'll learn. Takesha. I'll learn it.
Yep. Cool.
Nailed it. Who cares? He knows what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
He has a funny thing where he says he's going to be in the corner for Bryan Danielson when Bryan Danielson takes on Brian Cage next week. It's not a cage match in the sense that it's a cage. It's just Brian Cage. Got that. And then he says this Japanese thing, this phrase, and then Renee Paquette's like, what was that? And he goes, oh, it just means MJF is an asshole. That's pretty funny, right? If he can just keep doing that kind of stuff, I think that'd be great.
I think Jeffrey Sills wrote Takeshita's name, but that doesn't help us pronounce
it. I can't. Yeah.
I know how it's spelled. I don't know.
Yeah, I know how it's spelled. Yeah. I just.
Yeah.
I'm not good at reading.
I don't know if I'm saying it right. I don't know if I know Tom's not saying it right.
Yeah.
I don't know if
because isn't that a rapper? Isn't that a rapper? Takesha.
That's Takeshi.
6ix9ine. Takeshi,
right?
Okay, I don't fucking know.
I'm not hip to the streets these days.
But he's the one that ratted on people because he's a
bitch.
Right.
Yeah, he sold everyone out.
And then still went to prison, you fucking nerd.
Was 69 tattooed on your face? That's going to serve you real well.
Witness protection. They won't catch me.
Yeah.
Good job, pal. Yeah. All right, then we get to the main event. And this was actually, for as much as we talk about Darby Allin being the almost modern day Sabu, where it's homicidal, genocidal, suicidal, maniac man. He actually wrestles a pretty sound technical match against Kushida for the AEW TNT Championship match. So what do you think of this?
Yeah, agreed. Again, like I said, if we're not doing a story, and which is fine, if you have a new champion, they get a couple bouts in usually before there's like a long-term storyline. And shout out Jeffrey Sills. Takeshita. Yep. And then Takeshi Snitch 9 from Theo.
Yeah.
Yes. But I like this match for that reason, right? Again, they set up who this guy is, right? And so, look, these are great styles that work together. They put on a good picture here for us to watch. There was spots. Same thing with Kushida is like, all right, come out dressed like Marty McFly. Like,
the time guy.
I get it, right? Like, but yeah, cool. Like when I watch, if I again sat somebody down and was like, watch this, it's they're gonna be like, wow, those guys are stuntmen, right? Like they do some cool stuff, right? And they, but like
that armbar catch was pretty cool. Mm-hmm. When Darby Allin jumped, he caught him in an armbar. That was pretty cool.
That's what I mean. So standalone watching it is good and it's fine, right? And it's cool. It's to me, it's maybe not what I would main event a show with. But
it's a title match.
It is a title match. It is a title match. So that's a sell. And I just, I don't know. I guess.
Well,
it is hard to do that separation of knowing that it's a scripted thing and not to know like, yeah, it's a title match. But we don't think Kushida's coming away with this title.
But that's what I would do. That's where we need to have a new wrinkle sooner rather than later. Is let's bring in. Kenta. Let's bring in Kenta, right? Mm-hmm. He does the GTS. That'll piss off CM Punk. So let's bring him in and let's actually have him win a championship. Have him beat Darby Allin. Not Darby Allin, but like what I would do is bring in
Orange Cassidy.
Exactly. Have him beat Orange Cassidy. And then when you go like, well, oh shit. And now you put it in the back of our mind the next time you do a Darby Allin Open Challenge and it's one of the Motor City Machine Gun guys. Well, he could win because they did it with Kenta, right? Like,
I would even do something along the lines of like, oh my God, Kenta beat Orange Cassidy. And then like somebody comes up and is like, I'm challenging you, Kenta. And they beat him. And you're like, holy shit. Right? Like, oh man.
In that promotion though, like in that promotion. Mm. Yeah. So like he loses it to.
I like that. So now somebody from AEW's got to go chase it down.
Yeah.
They got to go over there and,
so
fucking win it.
Yeah. And so, yeah, let's just hypothetically say Kenta beats Orange Cassidy for the All Atlantic Championship. He goes to New Japan Pro Wrestling. Then he loses it to Jay White. And Jay White is your All Atlantic champion. And now Trent or someone has to be like, well, we had a special match for New Japan Dynamite Midnight Show or whatever the fuck they're calling them. And we're going to have Trent taking on
the glory hole, Tom. Next glory hole. Yeah.
Next glory hole. There it is. That would be fun. Or wait till the glory hole and have a New Japan guy come to an AEW show as the champion.
Right. And now AEW's trying to win it back. Right now, Trent's trying to get back where, and this could even work into that storyline where they're having a little beef and be like, all right, well, I'll go get the job done that you can do. I'll go secure this bag.
And Orange Cassidy's like, cool.
Yeah, whatever. Right. Yeah. And then he's like, what do you mean, whatever? Right. Yeah.
So one thing I did want to talk about, because I saw it in a legit interview and it was a good article written about Sting, but Sting mentions in this article that this contract is his last one. Yeah. This is a legit retirement. He felt like the WWE one was kind of sour grapes and it fell apart and all that stuff. He's
Same
loved
thing Ric
his
Flair
AEW.
said where it was kind of their idea. And they didn't really want to do it.
And AEW, he feels really good with his body of work. So he said, like, once this contract is done, which it's going to be done this year, I'm out of here.
Yeah. So, didn't he also say this would involve Darby?
And he said my last chapter is going to involve Darby. So, Tim,
but didn't he also say he's not turning heel?
Right. I think this could be the Ric Flair, Shawn Michaels thing, where if I can't beat you for the TNT Championship, Darby, then what the fuck am I doing here? I've won enough tag team matches.
If I can't win a mid-card title here, then I'm below average, and it's time for me to go.
I would have it start somewhat with Darby essentially saying, because Darby can flirt with it, right? Darby can be moody, right? So I would have him start it with the, hey, Sting.
That's exactly how Darby is. Moody.
Yeah. But I would have him start this feud, or this storyline, I should say, because it's not really a feud, but I would have him start the storyline with Darby Allin has to rematch Samoa Joe, for example, right? And Darby's like, Sting, I'm good this time. Like, I don't need you.
I don't need you, bro.
And he wins.
Stay back here.
Yeah, he wins. And Sting's like, hey, great job. And then Darby Allin has to go up against Powerhouse Hobbs. And Darby's like, hey, man, dude, I'm good. And Sting's like, are you sure? He's like,
have you
yeah,
seen this guy's vignettes about he's talking about his book? Like, something's wrong with this guy.
Yeah. And so then he survives Powerhouse Hobbs, but it's not as convincing as it was with Joe. And then he has another big match with
Jake Hager.
Perfect. Yeah. And Darby's like, hey, I don't need you tonight. And then that's when Sting can go like, what are you trying to say? Like, are you done with me?
Yeah.
And Darby can be like, I am. And then that's when Sting goes, wait a minute. You think I'm this washed up old
I'm
fool?
holding you down?
Yeah. Well, how about I show you how good I am and I take a championship away? And then Darby can be like, old man,
maybe that's,
if I beat you.
That's the message Sting has been trying to get through to him with all these matches is like, don't take somebody for granted. You might think you're better than them, and you can be better than them.
Right.
But you don't have to be better to win a match. Right? You don't have to be younger. You don't have to be quicker. You don't have to be faster. You don't have to be stronger. You don't have to be smarter. You just have to hit in the moment, right? Like that's what he's trying to say. And he's like, and anybody can have a puncher's chance or whatever, right? Like they only need 3 seconds, right? Like he can just kind of keep trying to hit that message. And Darby's like, yeah.
Well, Darby's angle.
Yeah, whatever, right?
Well, Darby's angle is, well, if I beat you, who cares? You're Sting, a 63-year-old man. I need something out of this if I'm going to take out my mentor. So I want your career. And he's like, you motherfucker, really? And then that's when we do career.
Right? Yes.
Yeah. And then that's when we do career versus title, and Darby wins.
So Jeffrey Sill says they do have the match in Noah with Muta this weekend, so they can start throwing the first little.
This is Darby's debut, I believe, in Japan. So credit to him. Good luck for him to do that. And yeah, the Great Muta. Are you fucking serious? Great Muta could stir that shit up. Like, hey, you two guys are cool.
Oh, a little spit in the face when one's holding the other and that kind of thing.
Or just a like a Sting. You're running with this guy? Back in the 90s, this guy was throwing a locker.
You were the fucking. Mm-hmm. You're the talk. Look at you, man. Look at you, all swole. It's 60 years old still, and this little fucking kid.
Remember,
you can't ride all the rides at Disney World. You fucking
remember when we wouldn't give him an autograph because he was too small?
Right. You remember, like, he's a young boy. What are you talking about? Right?
Yeah. Are you sure you didn't bring a Make-A-Wish kid to be our third partner in this fucking tag match?
Yeah. He can even call him Sting's son. Be like, I'm glad you brought your son along. He's like, not my son. He's like, oh shit! It's
a face paint.
My bad. My fault.
All Americans look alike to me. Yeah. All Americans look alike. That's what he can say. All the Americans look alike. To me.
Sorry, you guys have the same face. All
the face paint. What do I know?
Fucking long nose, big pointy chin. Fucking white Americans, all the same.
Yeah, all the same. So that's our AEW Dynamite. That was really good. What did you think of the show? Did you have fun? Did you like it?
I thought this was a solid show. Again, nothing like there were some key storylines that had some moments, right? I think of the Hangman thing. I think of the Tony Storm, Saraya thing going on. So, I mean, there's stuff there. But also, I think the things that weren't storylines also delivered well,
Bryan
right?
Danielson,
like, the Bryan Danielson thing, which is in itself a story, but the the opening match, the main event, I think were kind of outliers, and they didn't really have a background story, but they still were solid matches that were very entertaining. So I gave this one a solid, if I give it a B+ on this one.
So I agree, and I don't think this is going to be any type of I'm going to go back in 6 months and watch it again because of that promo or that match, even though Bandito and Danielson was very good.
I think MJF's promo was a solid one, too. I think it was a really good promo.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there was a lot of good stuff here. I will, though, and maybe I'm just a prisoner of the moment, but if I were to grade this, I'm giving this an A+++ because of the circumstances of how we started this show off. There are so many people that have worked with or were currently working with or were backstage in the same dressing room as Jay Briscoe. And that wasn't even 24 hours after the news broke. And so for them, Jay Lethal is who I immediately thought of. For him to have a match less than 24 hours, motherfucker.
Oh, yeah. Because some of these folks were brothers to those guys.
Exactly.
100%.
And again,
even some of the producers backstage and the brass in there.
Yeah.
Tony Khan knew them personally, for fuck's sake.
And he took a chance on him, right? Because again, the Warner Brothers Discovery said, fuck those guys, right?
Yep.
And that's the other thing is if you want to go down the route of they had a tribute show planned and then were told no and had to pivot to then write a show, all of the circumstances, again, maybe it's a little bit of prisoner of the moment, but for the things that we did not see on the TV show is why I thought this TV show, for as good as it was, is even better, because I know I would have called in. I'm not, nope, you ain't seeing me for a while. And so for them to be like, hey man, I guess we need a second match of the night, so I'll go out there. Yeah. So credit to them for doing all of those things.
So tell us what you thought. Hit us up on Twitter. We're at Table Show. We are at Spanish Announce Podcast on Instagram, or at TMAC_toy_wrestling. Check out TMAC's fun pictures over there. And SpanishAnnounceTable.net. Of course, you can find all of our links. And just let us know. Send us an email, tableshow@gmail.com. Tell us what you thought about this Dynamite, next week's Dynamite. Maybe we'll read it right here on the show. And with that, for this week, I think it's best that we just leave you with a rest in peace, Jay Briscoe.
The Spanish Announce Table.